Good morning. This is Judy Gula, creator of Artistic Artifacts in Alexandria, Virginia. And we kind of have a dreary morning here. It's been raining, I think, overnight, pouring, and for some reason it's less than 60 degrees. I think it's May, right? I don't know. But anyway, so we're kind of slugging along here and hope that we can bring some sunshine to your home, because we need it here in Virginia. I am going to show you how to work with the Cabochon, and I'm going to do that first before I show you my bead book. This is very exciting for me. I really have enjoyed creating this book. I had not made one before. I kept saying I was going to do it, and so you guys helped me get that done, and I'm just really excited about it, so I can't wait to show you my book, but I'm going to make you wait a little bit longer. All right, so this is the final part in the book, First Time Beading, which is what we have worked with to create this book. You can buy the book, it gives you the directions, it walks you through step by step, and you can figure out how to personalize it. You can be very basic, you can be very advanced and do lots of crazy things in there. So there's a wide variety. So I think this is the trickiest part for me. I've had a little bit of some learning curves on these guys. So one, anything with a hole in it is a bead, but now we know how to put something that doesn't have a hole on it, and think about what those are. Okay, we have some faces. These are carved in Bali, and they're little tiny guys. We have shells. I mean, look at these things. These can be put down and attached similar to how we're doing these flatbacks. And I love shells. So, you know, any of this type of stuff is going to work. This a button is going to work also. I'm going to bring it over. See, here's a button. Happens to be a nice big pearl button. I tend to really hoard pearl buttons, so I definitely have different sizes and things. So this is a piece that I found in my box of items from Rosalie when she closed, because this is, as I said before, this is a tough one for me. So what we're doing is, one, it's easier if you use the same size bead, which, as you know, very few of my beads stay in tubes. I've already warned you about that. So I will, you know, that's something that's a little bit tricky. I find that the first row is back stitched 4 at a time, and you need to make it even. So that's this first row here. The next row is beading every other bead. And as you can see, it flips out this way when really we want it to flip in, because the beads are going to hold these items in place. I do have double stick tape on the back of these. I do like working on ultra suede. Normally I use E6000, and I will take whatever medallion or item I'm going to put on here and completely make it stick. But I did use double stick tape. You know, just the red tape that you have from scrapbooking and stuff. Double-sided tape. Yes, this is it. So it's pretty basic, I think, in a lot of mixed media scrapbooking. So I did use this, and it worked okay. But I didn't completely cover the back of it. You know, it peels off in strips. So I have some, see, here's this tape here. So it's not completely adhering the whole back of the piece, and I would have a tendency to think that that would be better. So I would, next time, I would say I would glue them. All right, so here's two of my samples here. And this is my bead mix. Ew, that's my other bead mix. Here, and so as you can see, there's all kinds of different beads in here. So right now, I think that these are about a size 6. So maybe 8. They're pretty decent size. And so we have 4 here. This is a back stitch, which we did do in a previous video. Come down. Then I'm going to come up here. All right. And I'm going to go back through. The book tells you to go back through 2. You know, I tend to go back through wherever I bring my needle up. So I haven't found that that's a problem yet. So 4. Okay, so here it is, 4 beads. I'm gonna pull it, and it's hard to get the camera in there with my fingers. All right, so I've got it. I've snugged it up. I'm going down here. All right, and then I'm coming up. And this is what kind of keeps everything, all the beads in a line, which is quite nice. And it's a little bit, I think it's a little bit straighter than when you use couching. So we're gonna go all the way around this bead. You guys don't have to watch me do that. And then we're going to come to the second row. You want to end on an even number of beads. It says that in the book. And you want to then, everything will work out correctly, because the next row is going to be every other bead. So it's going to create some gap. And let's...
I have a question.
Yes.
What is the smallest size bead you would use for this?
Okay, that's a good question, and hang on to that thought, because I do have some thoughts about that, and because I've already taken something out, cut it out, because the bead was too big. So, yeah, I think these are 8. All right, so then I'm just gonna do, let me try to show you what the second row looks like. All right, so then I'm gonna come back up. All right, get my hands out of the way. All right, so I'm threading here through a bead. Okay, my needle comes through there. Sorry, Kyle, hold on a second. Let me get, then I'm gonna go here. And then I'm gonna skip a bead, and I'm gonna go. So it's working in sections of 3s. All right, here's where I started. So there's the start of my bead. I have, my bead is looping. I'm skipping this one, and I'm not saying this right. I know I'm not. Okay, hold on. Here we go. All right. Here's where I started. So I have a thread that comes through this bead. I put a bead up, and then I go through this bead. Okay, then I'm going to put another bead on, if I can find the right one. Here, and I'm going to skip a bead and put my thread through. Can you guys see that? This is, it's really wonderfully done in the book. Chris is looking for her page right now. All right, so here's your first row. then you're coming back, and every other bead, you're going to put a bead. And you can see how Liz illustrated with the purple and the orange, so you really can tell. So if you're going every other bead, you are making your circle smaller, which is going to hold your piece, your flat back that you've put on there. Can everybody see that? All right.
So you're only going through the bead and not the fabric?
I'm only going through the bead and not the fabric. That is correct. All right, so I'm going to do that all the way around, and that is going to be my second row. So let me tell you, the question about the bead size is actually pretty good, because I like to use beads that are larger because it takes fewer of them to fill up the space. So I have a tendency to do that. Now, these, I think these are size 11, maybe, it's a guess, but they're small, all right? I tried to do them with these, which are, I think that these are size 8, and I think that these are probably size 6, sorry, and this is a size 8, and this is probably a size 11. This one did not work. It was too big. I was going to leave it to show you, but then I was like, oh, but that's my sample, so I cut it off. It totally did not work. So I think that smaller beads work better for this situation. So that was a great question. All right, any other questions? That's good. All right, so now I'm on my third row. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, so first row is solid back stitch. Next row is every other. So now the third row, I'm filling in with the bead. So again, I'm not stitching. I'm going through the single bead. And now it's starting to pull together to create that really cool looking border. And again, I kind of panicked because if you can see how my beads are facing the wrong direction, I was like, oh no, I did it wrong. But I thought it was kind of helpful, actually. It made it very clear. So there's artists out there that use peyote stitch just all the time and do some absolutely fabulous beading and probably know it much better than I do.
Just another question
Yep.
on the bead size.
Uh-huh.
Smaller size beads create a lot of nice detail, but tedious, but you can use any size. You recommend not using the large size.
Correct. Based on what my experience is. Yes, you can do any other size. Any size you want. I did not like the look of it when I went too big. And I really, for the most part, in anything I do, I truly don't believe in unsewing, unstitching, taking work out. But it just tells you because I did that, I really didn't like it. So it'll be personal choice. So this is the third row. Now, my question is, and I don't know the answer because, again, I don't do this a lot, so I'm a beginner at this. What happens if I want another row? I would assume I'm going to go back and then I'm going to do every other row. Because people do fill in peyote stitch there. So now I'm back to what looks like my first row. I have a solid line. And so my next row would be every other bead. That's what I'm assuming. Margaret, are you out there? Is that right? So this is as far as I got. All right, so you can see, and really, once you start beading and you get into it, it really does go pretty quick. All right, any questions on this so far?
One comment. Sue says that she finds it comforting that you hit rough spots on your learning curve too.
Oh, I definitely have rough spots to tell you about today. Yes. I am happy to tell you what I did wrong so that you don't do it, or what I had trouble with. So maybe that'll give you a hindsight. So Sue, there's more of those to come today. All right. So now I'm going to show you the cover of my book. And then I'm going to talk about my fringe and how I finished it. So, okay. So see, this is a piece of an old watch. And that became my flat back piece for my cover. And I have some of these little turquoise pieces and my little Indian birds that are just very precious to me. I kept saving them and saving them, going, I don't know how to use these. They're really precious. So they're in my bead book, so I'm totally excited. I did do some fringe back here. See, these are all like when I grew up, I had a necklace, you know, all this American Indian silver. And these are my fringes that I did on the book. So I'm just really excited about it. All right, so now we'll take a look through the book, and then I'll go back and make a couple comments and show you some things that I did. So here's my cover. Here's my first page, and I did my edging, my page. These are all pages you guys should recognize if you followed along, and if not, you can always go to our YouTube channel and look at the previous month's work. Okay, so here she is. This is my Bali face, and I use small beads down here, and then I use larger beads. But she's small, so think about your scale. It probably would have been better if I had continued to use these small brown ones because she's so small, but I think it looks okay. And again, it's a learning curve. Here's my wall with my bugle beads. And then I have my vine where I use the stencils by Christine Brown. And these are some acrylic flowers. And then this is my edging. I don't think you had seen that edging. I did that. So this is Pico. There's a lot of variations to Pico in the book. This was kind of another one where you do, so the basis of Pico is this base, a carryover bead, and a base. So you do that along here, but then you have ways of adding. So this is kind of a ribbon Pico. I like using the funky beads, like these lentils and things on the edges. And then this is a basic Pico. And so basic Pico means to me you have a base bead, you have a top bead, a carryover bead, and a base bead. So then the next one I alternated with these funky orange blue leaves. Can you see how I did that? If I had done a leaf on every one, I would have gotten a little bit more, I would have gotten a different feel. But I wanted to, so I did it every other. So it doesn't have to be the same all the way through it. You can work with that and make it different and make it every other. Okay, so it's for your, and then the back I haven't gotten to yet. Okay, so let me tell you what happened. There's instructions in the book. So if you saw the previous one, this was a strip of 4 blocks here. And the way that it would fold in is that you folded 2 on one side and 2 on the back side, sewed a seam, so it was a continuous piece. All right, I broke 4 needles. I was panicked. I thought I couldn't find the edge of one of the needles. I found it, so I was able to continue to sew. If you ever break a needle and you don't know where all the parts of the needle are, don't continue to sew. Why I broke needles? These were in my seam. I literally had to cut them out. So I cut all these beads up to here and had to redo them when I got my pages in because I didn't leave enough seam allowance on my pages. And I did that in quite a few places. Okay, so this is even too tight here. You really have to be, you know, again, I guess there's a reason why they tell you to read the entire recipe before you start. God, it probably would have been a good idea. This one, ugh. See, I had to take this all out. I had to take these out. This was terrible. I ended up using my Bernina leather roller foot because that was the only one that would allow me to not cut off the whole beads. So really be aware of that and leave your seam allowance. I did not even think about it when I started. And it took me an hour and a half to put this together, and I don't think it was that hard.
Is the leather roller still on sale?
Today.
Well,
Yes.
the end of the month.
End of the month. End of the month. And so that's what worked for me. It was not pleasant. I would definitely, not sure that I would even do these Pico edges until I got my book assembled. I don't know that I would do that. I would definitely not do my fringe because the other thing that was supposed to happen was when you folded those 4 pages together, you had to stitch these together. I did these Pico edges. I had to stitch them together. So this is the page that turned out good. I can tell you because I actually got it all the way along. There's a couple pages where I can put my finger through there because I did not, see? I couldn't get that top sewn together and I didn't do it by hand yet. So they're supposed to be closed. So learn from me. Learn from me. Don't do as I do, do as I say. All right. Now, this piece here is between your pages. All right, so this is what it looks like on the inside of my book. And I think when I'm done, I'm actually going to take a strip of fabric and fuse over this. Maybe I'll use another piece of this here. This is where my fringe is. I have single thread, and I've spaced them out depending on how much fringe you want. And you're just trying to, if you have too much, then you can't really pick the book up. Okay, so you can see that's how I went to my next place. All right, I'm gonna flip it. All right, see here? And all my fringe is parting this way so that I can do it. It's not in the way, it's not hanging down, is what I meant by I can do it. All right, so here I'm just using a mixture of beads.
There was a question about where you're getting these beads from.
The bead mixes are all made, what we make here, and that's what we sell. We are the bead mixes that are in the containers. And I can show you what those are. So we sell this size of a container, and it has a mixture of all kinds of different types of beads. So you can see there's leaves in there, there's other stuff. And this is what I use personally. That's why we developed this product, is because it's what I use. And there's going to be, and then what you do is you take it and you make it your own, and you mix some other things in with it. Is there a tray? Nope, keep going. No, the next, hardware tray. Yes, that one. Sorry. sorry. Trying to tell Chris what I want without words. Okay, so when I work at home, this is my tray, and I usually have this full. And these are these hardware drawers that you can get at the hardware store. And usually it's nuts and bolts and that type of stuff. So I have some old ones. When we were actually manufacturing product here, then we emptied them, and I got to take them home and wash them. So that is what I work with at home, and I maybe have, I don't know how many drawers I have. So if I want to travel, then I take this here, and I'm going to dip my container into it. So I've gone past what is available in the store by just adding different things, but I definitely use this as a travel.
So there's a question, is can they order the beads online?
Yes, they can order the beads online, and they're called Bead Mixes. They're glass beads. The silamide, the tulip beading needles are all online, and we are adding on specialty beads as we go. So I only sold the bead mixes because I had a dear friend who had a bead store very close to where Artistic Artifacts was located. So she has since retired, so we can expand a little bit more of what we have beading wise. But all of these bead mixes are definitely available. And last week I did tell you, if you want this container piece here, you'll have to send us an email because we do have them. So when you order the bead mixes, if you want this tray, there's no charge for it. We will give those to you.
There's a question about your necklace.
My necklace, which one?
Does the elephant have fringe on it as well?
Yes, it does. So I made fabric jewelry with these fabric beads and things and sold them in the torpedo factory, probably for about 10 years. So I always like these kind of funky found items that I could use when I sold the jewelry, but it had to have fabric in it, so that's there. And I do have more jewelry to show you some ideas, but I realized it was on a shelf high up and the forklift is down, so I couldn't get it. I'll show it to you another time, because it was a lot of fun, and you can do this for yourself. Okay, what other questions?
That's it.
Okay, so let me just finish my fringe here, and then
I'll be happy to answer any more questions. So, all right, so here's my fringe. I am going to I'm going to show you how I did this leaf. It's pretty cool. So, all right, so I have 2 beads here. I have my leaf, and I'm going to put 2 more beads. And what that's going to do is hide. So instead of, can you see? So there's 2 and 2. Then I'm going to come here. Oh, come on. Can you see what that did to the leaf? I have now a loop that has beads on it versus this type of end, which is a single bead. So that just gives you a little bit more. And I just have to make sure. Sorry, my hands are in the way. What I'm doing is I'm stitching way back up through my fringe to this end. And I'm holding this bottom piece and I'm pulling it so that I'm snug. Then I'm going to go through here. I'm going to flip it. There's my needle. And I'm okay. Then I'm going to knot it. There. Now I can keep going if I want. I'm going to go ahead and leave this bead, this thread in here, and just hold it in place. But I'm pretty sure I will take fusible fabric and fuse that and cover it. And I'm not sure I need too much more fringe. I think I'm okay. So I'll do a little bit. Now, the other thing is, this one is by Linda, who is a customer, does some absolutely beautiful beading. And so this is her fringe. And then she went a little bit up here. The fringe adds some weight, that is for sure. It's gorgeous. She does great beading. Here's her cover. And I think, so she even put some fringe there, and she did some stitching with hearts and some Pico. And her piece, we showed this in detail in the last one. But so I'll just flip through. She's got different stitches. The book also allows you to print out some instructions on how to do these different stitches. And then see, here's her flatbacks. And she did a little bit. So this one's kind of cool. If you look at this, here's a large bead, smaller bead, and then back to the larger bead. These are, you can see, are all the same size here. So you have lots of opportunity to personalize it. All right. So that's what I have for you today. Beads are very versatile. They can add just a little bit of sparkle, lots of interest. I've always thought that, especially if you're doing quilting, there should be something that draws you to the quilt from across the room and then rewards the person when they get up close. And that's where some of those details and things come from, beading or stitching or you know, something that's hidden that you can't see until you come up to your piece of artwork. I think it's great. We are going to have our third Thursday in June where we will have some items for sale. Watch for that event. We'll give you a little more details. Next Saturday, we are having a yard sale in our parking lot. That is a lot of artistic artifacts, stuff that's in our warehouse. So we're hoping to move quite a bit of that. I'm sorry for people who don't live local, but we hope that if you are local, you'll come see us. It starts 9 to 3. The store will also be open those hours as well, so you're welcome to visit the store. Quilters Unlimited, who is our local guild, my local guild, is having their virtual quilt show that weekend as well, so we're really excited to see what quilts were submitted to that. And we'll be out in the parking lot next week, having fun and talking to people and seeing what's there.
Hoping the weather is better.
Hoping the weather is better, so it can rain all day today, just as long as it doesn't rain next Saturday. YouTube, look for pre-recorded videos. Facebook, Creative Minds, Artistic Artifacts, Creative Minds. Please ask to join it and post your work. We're interested in having that be our community of interaction between our creatives. So thank you for joining us.